Okay, I don't know. I don't know why, but that's what's happening. And there's nothing I can do about it, so we're just gonna do it like this again. Okay, this is our last class for a while. And you're leaving when, Doc?
Thursday night.
Where are you off to?
Okay.
New York, New Jersey,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Come on, Doc, you're leaving out the best part.
How long is
Yeah, when are you coming back?
Probably around June 2nd or so.
July 2nd. If you go on June 14th and get back on June 2nd, you're doing something that none of us can do. If you're going on June 14th and getting back on June 2nd, you're doing something none of us can do. Well, unless you're gone for a year. You'd be gone for a year, but I don't think we're going to let you do that, Doc. We're not letting you leave for a year because you have to have some rahmanas on us. We'll miss you too much. Someone offered me, I'm not going to do it, right, but someone offered me just for a year to take care of a certain program in Chutz La'aretz.
Wow, really?
Right, so I realized, okay, it'd be interesting to do, definitely be interesting to do. I couldn't leave my grandchildren here for that long. It would drive me crazy. I mean, we have them over there also, and I'd be closer to some grandchildren, but
Yeah. It's hard.
the ones here,
That's nice. It's nice.
I know, I realized that I can't. I mean, there's other reasons also, but it just,
Yeah,
that I
works.
thought of that, and I said, I can't do that. There's no way. Got my Shleimel and my Eli. I mean, there's more of them, but I mean, those two are something.
I'm honored to have been asked that.
Yeah, that's right.
What?
He said it's an honor to have been asked.
I don't.
Yeah, no, it was a very nice, it's an interesting offer, but it's just.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be in the States for a year.
Yeah, well, it's not the States, it's somewhere,
No,
it's
I
somewhere
may
more
be-
interesting than the States. It
I
wasn't
may-
the States.
Oh, was
It
it?
was something much more interesting. Yeah, no, it was something very, very interesting. It was
Oh.
really
It
interesting.
was in Mexico.
No, it wasn't. But I realized,
Yeah.
you know, my little Shleimel, I can't do without my little Shleimel.
That's so cute.
Right, it's named after our father.
For the record, I may be moving here within the year anyway.
Great.
We shall see where
Great.
the world
I hope
takes
you
me.
do. I hope you do.
Thank you.
You're a nice addition here. Hopefully you'll come back.
At that time,
Anyway,
we should.
we should all hear good news like we heard yesterday about
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm
the
more-
horrible nurse. Yes, I was walking home from shul, and there was some. This is very rare because we live in what they call a Haredi neighborhood, but our shul is a block out of the neighborhood. So there's some guy sitting at a bus stop. No, we just walk out of the neighborhood, one block, and so theoretically there could be someone else around, but there never is. And it's not a residential area, that block.
Huh?
So some guy's sitting at a bus stop, looking at his phone, a Jew. So he says, "Do you want to hear good news?" Oh, I said Shabbat Shalom. So he looks up, he says, "Oh, do you want to hear good news? Are you interested?" I said, "Well, I'm interested, but not today." So he said, 4 hostages were set free alive. I said, "Well, okay, fine. Baruch Hashem." I walked off. So then my son left shul a few minutes after I did. Actually left a long time after I did, but he has very long legs and got home about a few minutes after I did. So he walks in, he said, "Did you hear the good news?" I said, "What, did you run into the guy at the bus stop?" He said, "Yeah, I walked by, I said Shabbat Shalom."
That's funny,
And he
that's
said, "You want to hear some good news?" Exactly the same conversation. So, Baruch Hashem. So I came home and told my wife, everybody was very excited at home to hear this good news.
He was
Amazing.
there to spread the good news.
Mamish. But it was funny. And you never run into any. I mean, you might run into a Filipino or a Sri Lankan who works for an older couple in the neighborhood. But, a Jewish guy sitting at a bus stop on a phone, it just doesn't happen. Right? Like it wouldn't happen in Geula, right? You don't see that in Geula. So anyway,
No, definitely not.
it was interesting. But it was nice that he wanted to share the good news.
Yeah.
It's certainly good news.
It was good news.
Unbelievable. I'm, so pleasantly surprised that there's anybody alive. That's what I just been
Yes,
amazed.
so true.
And of course, I don't know, I hope they get this out and they press it and press it and press it. Where'd they find them? People's houses, right?
In regular houses?
Regular houses.
Yeah.
So stop talking about innocent civilians.
I know, I
please.
can't stand hearing it.
Just stop talking about innocent civilians and just do what you have to do and kill a bunch of people if you have to kill a bunch of people. But get the
It's
people
war.
out and win the war and say, oh,
Correct.
innocent civilians. My gosh, these
Correct.
people are all killers.
It
They'll all
really
kill
is.
us. It's unbelievable. Anyway, come, let's go. Okay, we have a mimer to finish. Right? So the Rebbe is explaining how Torah, which comes from Atzmus, the essence of the Eibishter, therefore is beyond any limitation. Dafka, the connection to Torah, is that which can bring about the ultimate rectification of reality. And the last thing we saw, the Rebbe was talking about the Nefesh Bahamis, the effect on the Nefesh Bahamis. Because when he talked about Famalia Shel Maila and Famalia Shel Mata, the entourage above and the entourage below, so we talked about that first in spiritual godly terms, that we connect the level beyond the tzilus. Now we should know what this means, right? So I'm not going to explain it all because this is what the Mimer explained. And it's difficult, so if you didn't get it, okay, you're not going to get it in a review either, right? So that's fine. You'll get it next time around. Now, there's going to be ideas in my Mimer that you don't understand, but you can get the basic idea of the Mimer, that's fine. That the Famali Shemaila is a level beyond Atzilus that's drawn down into Atzilus, and that gives Atzilus the ability to affect Bia, and that's the Famali Shalmata, that Atzilus affects Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, which are called Eilamas Bia, base Yud Ayin. Okay, so in other words, created reality is affected by Atzilus by virtue of the fact that Atzilus is affected by a level beyond it. Atzilus is the hinge in between. Right? So he said, so too, relative to the nefesh, that a level, etzem nefesh, the essence of the soul, affects the nefesh elokis, affects the godly soul. Right? A level beyond limitation affects the godly soul, and that's Famalia Shel Maila, that's the upper, the entourage above, and that allows for the Nefesh Elokis to affect the Nefesh Abamis below. That's the peace below. Okay. And what do we say peace? What was Hishabdus, connection?
Is that brought down as was the language just as beyond Atzilus impacts Atzilus, the Nefesh Elokis can impact the Nefesh Bahamis, or there's a direct link between the impact on Atzilus and the way the Nefesh Elokis impact the Nefesh
Two
Bahamis?
different explanations of the idea of Famalia Shel Maila, Famalia Shel Mata.
Okay.
Now, obviously, they have a connection one to the other, but they weren't explained within the context of cause-effect.
Got it.
It was just two different ways of explaining. What does it mean, upper realms, lower realms? Well, in reality, it means upper levels of godliness and lower levels of godliness. In nefesh, it means the essence of the soul, nefesh elokis, and ultimately the nefesh abams. Right? Okay. So now we got just over the page 424. We'll finish the mimer, and then we'll drink a bottle of mashka. No, we won't do that. I don't have one. Have to arrange something around here. The stores aren't as close as they were in the other place.
You get it from my room.
Achibret and Nefesh Elokisim, Nefesh Abamis. He's starting to scare me. Kamesha Kosov, right? The connection of the Nefesh Elokis with the Nefesh Abamis. That's the second level. First level is the connection of Etzem and Nefesh with the Nefesh Elokis, the essence of the soul with the level of the soul that's clothed in the body. All right? Okay. Then that level of soul that's clothed in the body can affect the Nefesh Abamis, because it's connected to its source above. What does that mean? You should serve God with all your heart. Now, of course, heart should be b'chol libcha. Why does it say levavcha? So Rashi on Chumash explains, based on the Sifri, why does it say levavcha? Shnei yitzrecha, your two hearts. Your Yetzer Tov and your Yetzer Hara. Right? So we would call that Nefesh Elokis, Nefesh Bahamis. B'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol meyadecha. V'amru azal, b'chol levavcha. Why two bases? B'shnei yitzrecha, both yitzers. In other words, the Nefesh Bahamis can also be affected and elevated and illuminated. Now, ultimately, look, the Rebbe's going to say an amazing thing in a minute, but ultimately, Avodah is all about the Nefesh Bahamis. And Nefesh Elokis serves God because that's its nature. Nefesh Bahamis has to get into serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That means what's Nefesh Bahamis? Conscious me. That experience I have of myself. Where does that experience come from? It comes from my Nefesh Bahamis. Specifically, it comes from the intellect of my Nefesh Bahamis, Nefesh Maskelis. Right? And that experience is an experience of independence until I educate myself to realize that I'm not independent, and ultimately I'm just an expression of godly reality. Einod Milvade, there's nothing other than him. Okay, well I have to include myself in that equation. It's easy to include you. It's easy to be Mavatal you. You don't exist. But I do. V'achakach lifel bay, to affect it, the Nefesh Bahamis. Kemeshu mitzad etzem in the Neshama. Now this is a wild thing that the Rebbe says. Okay, he's talking about a tzaddik, but that's possible. That what the Nefesh Bahamis will ultimately be affected directly by the essence of the soul. What does that mean? Shelo yeshayach bay, that it won't be relevant to it, the Nefesh Bahamis. Lo yirak chet. Not only will transgression not be relevant to the Nefesh Bahamis, kim gam chisarden, even any notion of lacking whatsoever. Okay, say that's called the tzaddik, what the Rebbe just wrote about. But that means that's possible. This is all brought about through Torah. Now we have to see how. That's what I was going to explain in the last paragraph. The lefisha Torah, he built the gvul. Since Torah is unlimited, shalei lefi erech hanivra, not commensurate in any way, shape, or form to created reality. Lazois, therefore, hine hi pe'elis zikuch ba'nivra. Therefore, it brings about a purity in the nivra. Shalei lefi erech klal. It's not commensurate to the reality of the nivra at all. Okay, so that's the line that we've been saying. That's what we've been explaining for the last 2 pages. That the tikkun and birur and zikuch of all of reality comes from Torah, because Torah is sourced in Atzmus and therefore is beyond any sense, any state of limitation whatsoever. And it's dafka that which can bring about a complete transformation below. Okay, but what does that mean? I just sit in front of a Gemara all day and poof, I turn into a healthy human being? Well, we unfortunately know that's not true. Okay. So what does it mean? Ubezeh yuvan. From this it's understood. Now we're going to answer our 3 questions. What were our 3 questions? Why does it say Lamar? Why does it say Anochi Avai Elokecha? Why not just Anochi? I took you out of Mitzrayim. And why does it say Dafka Mitzrayim? Why doesn't it say just Beis Avodim, a house of bondage? Okay, those are the 3 questions. We're going to answer all of them in the next.
And then, yeah.
All right. Why Avai Elokecha?
Yeah.
Why also Eretz Mitzrayim? Why not just be Beis Avodim?
Why Lamar?
And why Lamar? Okay. Ubezeh yuvan masha koydem matan Torah. So first of all, we have to understand that before matan Torah, higdimu nasa lenishma. They've preceded nasa, we will do, to nishma, we will understand. The bittul of matan Torah, the most important aspect of matan Torah, that which gave us 2 crowns, a crown for nasa and a crown for nishma. What's a crown? A crown is something transcendent of intellect. All right, so I understand why I should get a crown for Naseh, because I put Naseh before Nishma. I said, I'll do, even though I don't understand exactly, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. I don't have to understand it, but whatever it is, I'll do. Okay. But why do I get a crown for Nishma? Nishma is understanding. Nishma is not beyond intellect, it's intellect. Oh, so the Rebbe isn't explaining that here, but it's based on everything we're learning. The ultimate expression of intellect is to get beyond intellect. Intellect is that which allows us to bring that which is beyond intellect into our conscious reality. We don't create truth in our intellect. We connect to truth in our intellect. That's the difference between human intellect and godly intellect. It's the difference between learning Torah and thinking about things. Right? Philosophers try to create truth by contemplating reality. Now, sometimes they come up with something that's true. Right? But Torah, you don't have to create the truth. The truth is there. You bring that super rational truth into your conscious reality through intellect. Intellect is that which allows you to connect to that. But it's not the source of it. So they also get a crown for Nishma, because their thought is completely different. What are they interested in thinking about? What God thinks, not what they think. It's called bittul. What's important to say? Well, what does God say? Someone asked us, hopefully, a Lubavitcher Chassid, someone asked them a question about something. How do they answer the question? You see the Rebbe, where the Rebbe says like this. So who's going to answer the question? Me? No. I'm going to answer the question based on the Torah that I learned. Okay, why am I learning Torah? Because I want to connect to a truth that's transcendent of the level of truth that I could possibly come to myself. So that's what intellect is useful for. So Nasiv and Nishma get a crown because our Nishma is also beyond intellect. We're using Nishma to connect to beyond intellect, using intellect to connect to the beyond intellect. It's all learning Torah. That's what this Maimer is all about. This is the preparation of Matan Torah. And when did we say that? On Hey Sivan. On Hey Sivan, we said Nasiv and Nishma. Whatever you say, we'll do. All right? We'll do it, and then we'll understand it later. We don't have to understand it and interestingly enough, the Malachim gave us crowns. The Malachim came and gave us 2 crowns. They made 3 crowns, they gave us 2. The rest of the Medrash says the 3rd crown went on the Eibishter's head, so to speak. Okay, so this is really, there's just a side point about this that is so fascinating, and I do not know the answer, but it's really such a good question. We know that at the time of Matan Torah, it's Gemara and Shabbos, right? The Malachim said, why are you giving them the Torah? You should give to us. Look at them. I mean, they're just physical beings. Why are you giving it to them? Right? Oh, so what did the Eibishter answer? He said, talk to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Eibishter didn't answer. He said, ask him. Meaning Moshe had to figure out how to answer that question in order to get us the Torah. Okay, fine. So Moshe answers the question. It says in the Torah, Yitzias Mitzrayim, were you at Mitzrayim? It says in the Torah, Kivud Avayim, you have father and mother. Okay, say it. So Moshe answers the question. Now, generally, the beginning of that medrash in the Gemara and Shabbos says, Kasha Allah l'marim, Kasha Moshe Allah l'marim, when Moshe went up above. Now we know Moshe was going up and down for all these days. On the first day he didn't go anywhere. Beis Sivan he went up, came down. Gimel Sivan he went up, he came down. Okay. But if that statement if the Malachim were kvetching about us getting the Torah on the 6th of Sivan when Moshe went up to get the Torah, so then, it's very strange, because the day before what happened, we said Nasiv and Nishma, and the Malachim put crowns on our head. In other words, the Malachim already bottled to us by the 5th of Sivan. They realized that we should get the Torah, but they put crowns on our head because they were so impressed by our connection to the Torah. So then when did they ask that question? Why are you giving it to them and not to us? Everybody learns Pshat that they said at the day of Matan Torah, but it doesn't really make sense because of the medrash of Nasiv, the Pshat Nasiv and Nishma. But anyway.
Is there a revolt?
No. Don't try to answer good questions. No, you don't, because you and I don't know enough to answer good questions. You just appreciate the question. And if someone bigger than us answered the question, so then you quote him. That's exactly what we just learned. We don't just make up answers because truth is too powerful for me to just make up an answer that might be. No, chas v'shalom, the Jews revolted. No, absolutely not. So, don't know the answer. I mean, the shir I heard from Asher Farkish where he brought up the question, so he said maybe it means that the whole fetch of the Malachim was before the 5th of Sivan, when Moshe went up another time, which could be. The simple pshat in the Gemara is that's happening on the 6th. But maybe it taka happened earlier. Just don't know. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that out as an interesting question since I don't know the answer, but that's okay. Sometimes the question's better than the answer. That since, why is Nasil being Makdim Nasil Nishma the proper preparation for Torah? Because what happened at the time of Matan Torah? What happened at the time of Matan Torah was we were given the property of Dibur in Torah. Shu Bilti Gvul, the Medaber. That's what I was given in the Midbar. That's what the Rebbe explained to us earlier in the Mimer. Shizel Bechinas Keser Torah. This is the Keser of the Torah, the crown of the Torah. Interesting enough, we were crowned after we said Nasa Lenishma. Nasa V'nishma. Oh. What's Keser? Keser is Makiv. Keser is beyond the Tzilus. Keser is a completely transcendent level of reality. Now let's see what the Rebbe says about that. The Hine. Hamshacha Isa. This drawing down of Keser was al yedei hakdamas nasa l'nishma. How did we connect to that level such that we, through our avodah, brought about so to speak, a revelation of Torah that is the Torah that is necessary to bring about the ultimate fixing of the world? By saying nasa l'nishma. Why? That means if we, in order to learn Torah properly, to take advantage of the power of Torah that the Rebbe has described in this whole Mimer, it doesn't mean you sit in front of a Gemara. You have to sit in front of a Gemara, sit in front of a Mimer, sit in front of Shulchan Aruch, sit in front of Chumash and Rashi. Fine, okay, true. But in a certain oifen, in an oifen of Nasa L'Nishma. Why? Because that draws down the transcendent level of Torah, because we've gone beyond our intellect. What does that mean? So the Rebbe is going to explain that. And this is, we saw this earlier, but this is the whole point of it. And the whole point of Chassidish Avodah is this. Hine, Amshacha Yisayidei Akdamas Nasa L'Nishma Shuhu HaBittul LaBal HaRatzon. That's the bittul to the Bal HaRatzon, to the one who has the will, as opposed to his will. Meaning a person can be bottled to the will of a Kadosh Baruch. That means he does all of the mitzvahs. He's a good guy. He's mamish beseder. But there's a level beyond that. He's bottled to the Bal HaRatzon. He's bottled the Eibishter. So then whatever the Eibishter says, he does. Nasa v'nishma is I'm not bottled to what you're telling me to do. I'm bottled to you. So to speak, to put it in slightly different terms. We are bottled to Shulchan Aruch, but I'm not bottled to Shulchan Aruch, bottled to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter tells me to be bottled to Shulchan Aruch. So we listen to everything in Shulchan Aruch. Why do we listen to everything in Shulchan Aruch? Because that's what the Eibishter wants. That's a completely different level. And that's Nasa L'Nishma. And if a person's bottled to Bal HaRatzon, so then the Torah that they learn is imbued with Bal HaRatzon, which is this completely unlimited level of Torah, the level of Torah that's sourced in Atzmos, in the essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and that brings about a complete and total transformation of all of reality, including the Nefesh Bahamis of that person. But if I learn the Torah mitzad its intellect, so it affects me positively, there's no question. But I don't I'm just a slightly better, modified version of who I was before. Because I have this interesting knowledge that's very, very useful and helpful and will probably bring about a certain state of health. But a complete transformation? No, why not? Because I'm not really connected to the Eibishter, I'm connected to the Torah. Now, the Torah is amazing. Well, but what aspect of the Torah is it that's completely beyond limitation? The level of Torah that is an expression of Bal HaRatzon, not simply the Ratzon. To say it in slightly, in like a little pit gum, or to say about Chassidim, right? Chassidim aren't into Torah and mitzvahs. They're into God. God's into Torah and mitzvahs. So they're into Torah and mitzvahs. Right? Why are you into Torah and mitzvahs? Oh, I love Torah and mitzvahs. No, I love God. And God likes Torah and mitzvahs. So that's what we do. Oh, that's very different than being into Torah and mitzvahs. Because being into Torah and mitzvahs, because I love Torah and mitzvahs, and it makes me feel uplifted, and it makes me feel connected, and it elevates me, it gives me meaning in life, and all that's true. And it is wonderful and incredible. But it's not going to take me to, and it's not a matter of me getting to this place because I want to get there. It's because God wants us there. But it's not going to take us to the place that the Eibishter wants us to get to, which is a place of bittul to Bal HaRatzon, which is a place of complete and total illumination and rectification of the lower realms. How do you do that? Through learning Torah, but through learning Torah, by realizing when I'm learning Torah, I'm connecting to Bal HaRatzon, connecting to the one who wrote the Torah. And that idea is brought in Chassidus many, many times. Shehu b'chinas a keser shebenefesh. That's keser. That's the level beyond intellect. That's Nasa v'nishma. That's why we got Kesarim. That's why we got a Keser. That's why we got a crown. A crown is above your head. I can learn Torah. You hear people say these things, and it's painful. Oh, learning Gemara is like doing intellectual push-ups. Okay, there's no question that learning Gemara is good for your intellect. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, intellectual push-ups, right? Okay, but it's like, I don't know. You're walking to visit your old grandmother and you're interested in how many steps you have on Samsung Health as opposed to visiting your grandmother. You're visiting your grandmother. It's true, you're walking there, so it's good for you, but you're visiting your grandmother. This is about your grandmother. This isn't about how many steps you get on Samsung Health. Oh, good, I made my steps today. Baruch Hashem, I'm glad I went to visit Granny. Hope she stays alive, because every time I go visit her, I have more on Samsung Health. I wouldn't want the old bat to give up the ghost, huh? And I'll have to find somewhere else to go exercise. I mean, that's what, okay, that's a little bizarre. Well, learning Torah because it's good for me, and that's the same thing. We're on our way to visit a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So instead of thinking about visiting a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm thinking about, this is good for me. Oh, look, I'm stretching my intellectual muscles. We do, but that isn't what's going on. That does happen, but it's not what's going on. So I can get stuck there, though. Shu b'chinas haketzer shu b'nefesh. Delochein har bishvil hakdomas nasa l'nishma. That's why, as a result of preceding nasa to nishma, we will do, and only then we will understand. We'll hear, we'll understand. Kashrul and beis ketzar. That's why they got two crowns. The idea of ketzer, the transcendent level, beyond Atzilus, right? Meaning in terms of worlds, so ketzer is beyond Atzilus, source of Atzilus. Hine al yedei Vayidaber b'chinas
Ketzer beyond Atzilus or source of Atzilus or both?
Well, on one hand, it's part of Atzilus, but really it's beyond it. It's the source of Atzilus. It's beyond Atzilus, therefore it's also the source. There's a level of Ketzer that's completely transcendent of Atzilus. There's also a level of Ketzer that is the source of Atzilus. That's the difference between two different levels of Ketzer called Arich, which is the source of Atzilus, and Atik, which is the completely transcendent. Right? Because there's Atzmus, this doesn't apply to Atzmus, but most states of reality have a state of being and a state of function. What is it and what does it do? Okay, so what is Keser? Transcendent. What does it do? It's the source of the next reality. But that's already the external expression of it. It's not it itself. It's what it does. So what does Keser do? Keser of Atzilus is the source of Elam Atzilus. So that level of Keser is called Arich. We'll get into it. It'll come up in my mind. All right? There's a level of Keser called Pnimius of Keser. What's Pnimius? Pnimius is the being of something, what it is, not what it does, which is what the world has lost sight of. The world doesn't believe in being. The world only believes in function. It's Greek, but they've taken it to a great extreme. So they will no compunction whatsoever to killing a uterus that is relatively small. As a matter of fact, they're talking about 9th month, right, which is just Pashut murder. But okay, why? Why do they have first trimester abortions for convenience? Why is that just considered normal? Well, because they don't believe in being. They only believe in function. This thing doesn't function. Just off it. It has as much being as the doctor performing the operation. There's no difference. That thing has as much being as the doctor. Function? Useless. Completely useless. It's going to have function, Bezrat Hashem, but right now, completely useless. So you also off old people. Canadian medical system. Right? They're just a burden to the socialist medical system. They cost money. They're not worth it. So 3% of deaths in Canada are medically assisted suicide. 3%. That's frightening. That is an expression of a society completely devoid of any godliness whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right? Now, some of those situations obviously are unplugging someone in a situation where it's probably might even be mutter be halacha to do it.
Sure, but 3% does
3%
does not feel like
lot.
3%. Yeah.
3% is basically if you have, I have an elderly parent in Canada, you do not want them to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Because who knows what they'll do to them. I mean, they're going to say something to you, right?
Yeah.
My mother's younger brother just passed away. He was 94, 95. He passed away 6 months ago, whatever. How? If the doctors had come to his kids and told them that this is what's best for him, and that they probably would have said, okay. Right? Now, I don't know what happened, but I certainly have my suspicions as to what happened. Not suspicions based on anything other than that statistic,
Yeah.
right? Which is heavy. So that's function and being. Being, Jewish being comes from Jewish women. Jewish function is a function of men. That's why your tribe is your father, but your essential aspect of your essential existence as a Jew comes from your mother. Your father's irrelevant. Mother's, it's all about your mother. But in terms of what tribe you are, how do you express yourself, what's your function, so to speak, in the Jewish people, that's your father. You a Levi, or you a Ruvain, or you a Shimon? That's all these parshas, right? Where are you standing? What are you holding? What color is your flag? Right? Okay, right? Okay, so that's all your father. But your essential reality as a Yid, that's your mother. Okay, so that's function being. On one level, there's different expressions, but that's also pneumius and chitzonius, inner reality and external reality. External reality is function. So there's the pneumius of Kesser. What's that? Atik. That's a completely transcendent level of reality. It has nothing to do with what's going on below. It's transcendent of it all. Right? Then there's a level called Arich. What's Arich? Arich is that level of Kesser which is responsible for being the source of Elam Atzilus. So to speak, the function of Kesser. Right? Okay. Those people are writing things down there, I know what it is. Okay. It's just entertaining. Okay, so that's Kesser. So Kesser mitzad itself is transcendent. What Kesser is, it's a transcendent state of reality. What Kesser does, is the source of the next state of reality. Malchus of every world is the Kesser of the world below it. Okay, so let's answer the questions. We have 20 minutes to answer the questions. Shu bechinas haketzer shebatar. Shalchein ha'ir bishvil akdamas nasa l'misha kashru lem beis kasarim. Hine. Al yedei aveda bechinas ketzer shebenefesh dafka. So now, we're talking about the aveda of that level. That means learning Torah mitzad the Baal HaRatzon. Doing mitzvahs also mitzad the Baal HaRatzon. Why are you doing this? The Eibishter wants me to. Do you like it? I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. But why are you doing it? Because the Eibishter wants me to. He likes it. Al yedei zeh himshichu bechinas keser tarishu adibur the Torah. We draw down the level of dibur b'Torah, the midbar, the medaber, the level beyond intellect. Because chaya was intellect. Dibur was medaber was beyond. The mitzad bechinas zu, as a result of this level, dafka specifically, nasa hazichuch. That's when the purification of created reality comes about. That is not a function of, is not relevant to the reality below. Completely and totally transcendent. I'm sorry, I just saw someone wrote here, "Free Palestine." So I'm just amazed that someone without any brain whatsoever can figure out how to write that on this page.
What if Tikkun, instead of maybe he'll learn something by listening to this?
I doubt it. He's probably off by now. But it's interesting that people without any brain whatsoever could do this. Could actually write it. That's amazing. Right. That's what Dorothy asked. Who was it without the brain? The straw man.
Yeah.
Right. So she asked him, "What do you do? No brain." He says, "Oh, I go to pro-Palestinian rallies."
Yeah.
If you don't have a brain, that's a good place to go. Also, if you don't have a heart. V'zeu ma shekosav v'yadaber Elokim es kol ha'davar me'ela. Lamor. That's why it says v'yadaber Elokim es kol ha'davar me'ela. Lamor. That's one. We're going to see that. Anechi Havai Elokecha. We're going to have to explain Havai Elokecha. Asher tzesicha mi'eretz Mitzrayim. We're going to have to explain Eretz Mitzrayim mi'beis avadim. Those were our three questions. Tehine. Kavanas Matan Torah. The intention of Matan Torah. Masha Nisan Bechinas Hadibur de Torah. It was given that level of dibur, the completely transcendent level of Torah. Hu kedei lezachech es hagashmi. This is in order to purify physical reality, shaloi lefi erkai, in a way that's completely beyond its natural state. And as we've said many times in the context of this mimer, that a prisoner can't free himself, so the freedom has to come from a place beyond him. So the revelation of this level of Torah is what allows us to reach transcendent reality, bring about real change. Therefore, hu eimer asher haitzisicha mi Eretz Mitzrayim. So we're going to answer that first. So therefore, it says that I took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim. Why? The intention of Matan Torah is to do away with limitation. Mitzrayim, I took you out of limitation. That's the whole purpose. That's dafka through the dibur of Torah, which is unlimited. So the first thing we have to say, I mean, it's not the first thing we say, but the first question we answer is, why does it say, why not just say mi beis avadim? No, to emphasize the idea of Mitzrayim, limited reality. Torah is that force which allows us to transcend limited reality. Only if we're learning Torah in the proper way and involving ourselves in Torah in the proper way. Say there, but that will allow us to transcend limited reality. So that's why it says Mitzrayim. Shezeo dafka yedei bechinas adibur shebetorah shubil tigvul. That's dafka from the level of dibur shebetorah, which is unlimited. Bechinas keser the keser. V'zeo ma shekosav anechi, and that's why it says anechi, right? But wait a minute. Anechi wasn't our problem, right? Our problem was Havai Elokecha. But first it starts with anechi. What's anechi? Anechi misha anechi. I am who I am. Atzmus, the essence of the Eibishter. The loy Yisrael is b'shum ha'is b'shum kaitz. It's not hinted at in any letter or any kaitz, right? The little crowns on the letters. Hine, anechi, that level of Atzmus, anechi misha anechi, I am who I am, beyond any name. What happens to that level of me? Nase becomes Elokecha, your God. What does that mean? Keichacha v'chayusecha, your power, your vitality. Which is what we said earlier, that the Nefesh Bahamis itself can be completely and totally connected to the Eibishter. How? Anoichi can come down and become Elokecha. Now it's going to happen through the agency of Yud Kei Vav Kei, we'll see. But Anoichi can be Elokecha. What do you want? You want that level of Anoichi to be who you are. You want the essence of God to be your conscious reality. That you're a person completely and totally connected to Elokus. That's what you think about, that's what you're interested in, right? So how does that happen? Sorry, I missed. In order to bring about that state, there's an intermediary state. It's through Shem Havaya. Shem Havaya is that which takes completely transcendent godly reality and brings it down into a place where it can affect created reality. That's why Yud Kei Vav Kei is the map of Seder Ishtalshalus. The Yud is Atzilus, the Kei is Bria, the Vav is Yetzirah, the Kei is Elam Asiyah. It's the source of the light that's drawn down into the Kelim of Elokim in worlds. Bereshis Bar Elokim, that's true. But what is it? The Elokim is the Kli. So where's the light? Havaya Elokim. So Anoichi, Atzmus, is drawn down into Havaya, which is infinite godly light, which is drawn down into Elokecha. 3 states of reality. There isn't anything else. Everything is one of those 3 things, right? I mean, there's Atzmus is the Eibishter himself. Then there's Havaya, in infinite godly light. And then there's created reality, Elokecha, limited reality, which also includes Elam Atzilus. So what Kadeshi Anoichi of Elokecha or Yedei Havaya. What's Havaya? Shu Tzimtzum, the Yud. Vispashtus, spreading out, that's the K. Hamshacha, drawing down, that's the Vav. Vispashtus, that's the K. She'ein ze inyan hatzimtzum. Another Rebbe says a fascinating thing about tzimtzum. This isn't a true expression of tzimtzum, meaning restricting and constricting and limiting. Ki'im adarabah. What's it all about? It's all about revelation, not about concealment. Kim adarabah, shayadei bechinas havaya, that through the level of havaya, the intermediary, like the hinge, like the etzilus in the whole puzzle, nasa nechi elokecha. Etzem, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can be drawn down into the world through first becoming a state of infinite godly light, and ultimately that light is processed so it can express itself in kelim, in vessels, and so there is on the external sense a certain notion of tzimtzum and constriction, but ultimately that all that's doing is bringing about an expression of the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu below. And that's what the Rebbe is going to say. He's going to say in the next line, it's an amazing thing. Kim adarabah. What's tzimtzum all about? Revelation. U'kameichein gam shem elokim. Hanizkar kan. Kamesh kosav Vayidaber elokim. It says Vayidaber elokim is called Vayidaber. Why elokim? Elokim is tzimtzum, constriction. Matan Torah is all about revelations. The Rebbe says this isn't a shem elokim of constriction and limitation. What is it? Ein ze inyan ha'gvura v'tzimtzum. Elo tigbaris ha'atzmus. It's gvura, but it's the gvura, the strength, the unlimited power of the essence of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's Vayidaber Elokim. Not Vayidaber Elokim, the so to speak, the lowest level of godly reality, that level responsible for created reality. No, Vayidaber Elokim is Elokim is gvura, the expression of the most powerful revelation, even though there's a contradiction in terms, but say that we live with it. The most powerful revelation of Etzem, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does that happen? Comes through Elokecha, comes through Havaya, into Elokecha. It becomes who you are, what you're about, what your conscious reality is connected to. What allows for that to happen? Torah. That's why it says, Anoicha v'Elokecha, instead of Anoichi. Seder Anoichi. Anoichi is Atzmus, but Atzmus has to be able to be connected to down here. How? It comes down through Havaya into the realm of Elokecha. Ve'inyan zeh she'Anoichi Elokecha. And this aspect, this reality of Anoichi, that the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Elokecha, is the power of you, who you really are. Hu b'kol echad v'echad Yisrael, is in every single Jew. The liyos, that since. At Matan Torah, what happened? Panim b'panim dibar v'ayimachem. Kadosh Baruch Hu spoke to us face to face. Every single Jew was there. Every single neshama was there. Shebakol echad Yisrael yesh b'bechina shem havaya shebenefesh. Every single Jew has the level of shem havaya shebenefesh, this transcendent aspect of their soul. Now yedei b'china shem havaya shebenefesh, and through this power of their soul, al yedei zeh, through that, hine, what can they do? They can bring about a situation that Anechi, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is Elokecho. Keichocha v'chayasecho. Your power and your vitality. Meaning your conscious reality is connected to the Eibishter. That's what you think about. You're not thinking about your own religious expression and spiritual elevation. Think about the Eibishter. What does the Eibishter want right now? Okay, say it, I don't know, we'll figure it out. What does he want? I guess right now he wants me to learn Chassidus. What's he going to want in a few minutes? He doesn't want me to prepare for Shachris. Finish Shachris. What's he going to do? He doesn't want me to eat something so I can go learn Torah. He wants me to learn Torah. Okay. If I'm going to work, what does he want me to do? He wants me to go to work and be honest at work and treat people properly at work and be a dugma chaya of a proper person, a healthy person. See? That's what he wants. What about Lamor? Oh, because all of this happens through Lamor, right? That the fact that Keser Torah, this transcendent level of the Torah, Mizgala, is revealed b'inyan adibur davka, kanal lezois, therefore, hu Eimer, it says, Lamor, sh'inyan adibur. How is that you and I do all this? Lamor, we say the words of Torah. But we have to say the words of Torah within this incredible conscious reality that the Rebbe wants us to be part of. right? Which is connection to the Baal HaRatzon, not just the Ratzon. The idea of the Chazal say that what was the problem at a certain point in Jewish is Lo Baruchu b'Torah Tchila. They didn't make a bracha before Torah. I mean, they didn't make a bracha before Torah because they made brachas of Torah. No, but they didn't relate to the Baal HaRatzon, the Baal HaTorah, the Neis in the Torah. It just related to the Torah, but not the Neis in the Torah. And we say it in present tense, Neis, the one who gives, not the one who gave. It's giving constantly. וזהו גם כן מה שכוסף לימור, דליישי עניין כסר תרם מסגל בניין הדיבור דווקא כנ"ל, לזויס, therefore, הוא אומר לימור, שהוא עניין הדיבור. וליישי בחינס הדיבור דתורה, and since this speech of Torah, פועל הביטל לבעל הרצון, this brings about a state of subjugation to the, and self-abnegation, bittul, to the Baal HaRatzon. Bittul doesn't mean you're a nothing. Bittul means you're connected to your source. Shehu bittul b'metzias, which is a state of bittul b'metzias, means the person's whole metzias, their whole existence is a metzias of bittul, which is atzilus, as opposed to Olam HaBriya is a state of yesh, and the bittul in Olam HaBriya is bittul yesh. That what? That the yesh does not see itself as separate and independent from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but is still aware of its own existence. Bittul b'metzias is, that's atzilus, where and this is tzaddikim, that the metzias of the person, the existence of the person is an existence of bittul. And that's the level a person can strive for through learning Torah. L'zoysu omer leimar. The perusha noch zogen, to say after, shu'inyan tan l'shoni imresecho. Whose words are we saying? God's words. My tongue will say your words. Ka'ina achrei akaira, like the one answering after the one reading. Right? The Eibishter, so to speak, is reading, and we're just saying the words that he said to say. So we're just connected to him through that. Shehu mitzad habittul b'metzias lebal haratzon. This is through this incredible level of bittul to the Baal haratzon, and that again, Torah, learned and expressed in the proper way, can help a person come close to that. Tzaddikim make it. The rest of us are hopefully on the road. Right? Liyos anechi misha anechi ukechacha v'chayosecha. Because anechi misha anechi, that's the true source of your being and the true source of your vitality. And how can we express that and tap into that? Through learning Torah properly. That's why the birur happens through Torah. That's what Torah is. Mitzvahs also obviously play an incredibly important role in all of this. But, the emphasis here of the Rebbe has been on learning Torah, which is obviously an incredibly important part of our Vayidaber. It's not that if I sit and learn Torah, everything's taken care of. I remember once a bacher who was in a Hasidically challenged yeshiva. So he grew up in a Chabad house on campus in America, and then came to a yeshiva here in Eretz. It's not the most Hasidic place. So we used to make farbrengens near that yeshiva all the time. And a lot of the bachrim would come, and he used to come. And I say we, meaning I used to, but also other people, right? And it's not the royal we. And remember once he came to a farbrengen, it was Yud Beis Tammuz. We were farbrengening in the Tzemach Tzedek shul in the old city. And he sat there for 2.5, 3 hours. He sat there for the whole farbrengen. It was all about Mesiras Nefesh, because Yud Beis Tammuz. And he came up.
Yud Beis Tammuz was the altar Rebbe got up.
The previous Rebbe. So he came up to me afterwards, wonderful guy. Came up afterwards and said, "Thank you, that's very nice. But everything you said was true, but it's too hard. And I know that if I sit and learn Gemara, I'm doing what God wants, so then that's enough." I think that's enough. Meaning, then I'm Yetzer, no one can say I'm doing the wrong thing. So it's like someone turned off his neshama, like there's a switch there. You just turn it off and okay, let's do all this stuff. It was really quite frightening. About a year later, he came to Farbrengen late at night. He didn't show up for most of the Farbrengen. He showed up at the end of it just to tell me that he doesn't come to Farbrengens anymore because he's a masmid. Masmid means someone who learns Torah all day. So he doesn't have time for Farbrengens. Really good guy. Someone just turned his neshama off. It's like there's a switch. Mesiras Nefesh is too hard. Actually connecting to the Eibishter and giving of myself for him is too hard, so I know that if I sit in front of a Gemara all day, I'm doing what he wants and I'm okay. I'm covered. I've got my insurance policy.
My insurance is good.
Right. It's like, why? Anyway. So hopefully we don't get stuck there. The Rebbe makes sure at least that we know that there's something else. You can't say, Rav Yol used to bring about Lubavitcher. I mean, there was a long whole story about Elam Haza, Elam Haba, but the Elam Haba part of the Lubavitchers, and he would explain why the Lubavitcher has no Elam Haza, and that was always the funny part.
Rabbi Yol
Rav Yol Khan.
Oh.
And then he'd bring about no Elam Haba. Why? Because your average Yid will go to Gan Eden, and he's standing there, and the Malachim start asking him some questions. So, did you do this? Well, yeah, great, pretty much. Did you do this? Well, a little bit. Did you do this? Sort of, do this. Anybody tell you anything about all this? No, not really. I just did my best at it. Okay, fine. In you go. So then the Lubavitcher gets there, and he said, did you learn Torah? I said, no, yeah, I learned some Torah. Did you waste time? Yeah. Did you daven? Well, I daven. I wouldn't say it was actually serious davening. Yeah, I managed to start at the beginning and get to the end 3 times a day. I did that. You had Ahavas Yisrael? Real Ahavas Yisrael? I don't know. Real Ahavas Yisrael. Anybody ever tell you about any of these things? So what's the Lubavitcher supposed to say? No one ever told me. Okay, hold on 1 second. They start playing the tapes. You hear the Rebbe say this? 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 Okay. Psst, you. Down you go. That was a real. Said the Lubavitcher doesn't get Elam Hazeh. He was explaining also Elam Hazeh, right? But that was his Elam Haba part. When we get there and they start asking questions, what we're going to say, we didn't know? Of course you knew. What do you mean you didn't know? If no one told you, okay, say this, so you did your best. No one told you. The Rebbe didn't tell you what learning Torah is, what davening is, what doing mitzvahs is, what Ahavas Yisrael is. It's all right. Chassidim always say that a Chassidish Gehenim is better than a Misnagdish Gan Eden. So they always say.
That's funny.
Right.
Why is it that some people don't think that for bringing a Chassidus